Hello, Emil Donovan here from The Night Show. And on The Night Show, one of our highlights of the week is Fridays, when we get all kinds of cinematic with shortcuts. We recommend you one new movie, which is in cinemas now, one pick of the week from the paid streaming platforms, and also something that you can watch for free. What more could the heart desire? Here is Shortcuts with Night's movie man, Dan Slevin. The opening titles to With Nail and I. Now, why is With Nail and I notable at this time, Dan Slevin?
Sure. Well, With Nail and I has been quite hard to find for a long while. It was made in 1987, set in 1969, and it was notable at the time it came out as being one of the most popular British films of the 1980s. But because of its musical soundtrack, it ended up being kind of suppressed. It was hard to get on home video. And so the reason why I mention it is that if you are a fan of With Nail and I, as many people of my generation are, it's now being re-released on Blu-ray this weekend. So if you are a collector, then there's an opportunity to actually get hold of a copy for the first time in a long while.
One of the funniest movies ever. And that's the end of the sentence.
It is basically, it's one of the most quotable movies ever. I know a lot of actors who I think kind of built some of their personal style around With Nail and I, to their detriment, to their cost. There is in fact a drinking game associated with Nail and I, and I don't advise anybody to do this, but the idea is that you try and keep up drink for drink with Nail, played by Richard E. Grant, who incidentally is teetotal and allergic to alcohol. But with Nail, the character, who's a failed actor, he, during the course of the movie, drinks 9.5 glasses of red wine, 1.5 pints of cider, 1 shot of lighter fluid, we don't recommend that, 2.5 measures of gin, 6 glasses of sherry, 13 drams of Scotch whisky, and half a pint of ale.
Isn't that remarkable? And also the ability, on a serious note, the ability of someone who is teetotal and allergic to alcohol to play a drunk so convincingly.
Yeah, and the writer, Bruce Robinson, didn't believe that it was possible, and so insisted on feeding him alcohol to prepare for the role, and nearly killed him.
Yeah, not a good idea, and wouldn't happen these days. Great stuff. That's remarkable, actually, to me, that With Nail and I, such an iconic film, it was for such a time so difficult to get one's hands on. Why? Why is that?
Music rights. I think music rights. Partly, one of the songs in there is the very rare use of a Beatles song, "While My Guitar Gently Weeps," and I think that in low-budget filmland, there was a tendency to go, well, let's just buy the rights for 10 years. Instead, not realising that they might need to then renegotiate those rights if anybody was going to be able to see it. So, it was kind of suppressed for a while.
So it goes.
Do I have a moment to talk about superheroes?
You absolutely do.
I was listening to this debate, and I want to respond to Claire, who is no longer listening, I'm sure. But my favourite superhero, and I'm not sure whether this entirely applies based on the discussion that you've already been having, but mine is Tank Girl.
Oh, yeah.
And Tank Girl from the 2000 AD comics. British.
Partly drawn by a New Zealander, right? Colin Wilson. Did 2000 AD for a while, I think.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, absolutely. And according to the unimpeachable resource and authority that is Wikipedia, she does have special abilities. She can pilot any kind of tank. The second item here is random acts of sex and violence. Pretty much covers a lot of people, I think. But also the final one, and this is the clincher, can outrun any ice cream van.
There you go. If that's not good enough for a superhero, I don't know what is. Oh, dear. No, I'm very much enjoying the superhero discourse, Dan, I have to say. Now, you have some movies to recommend, but let's get to them in a second, because let's talk about some more general stuff first. First of all, we lost a Titanic actor this week, not an actor in the film Titanic, but an actor with a Titanic career, Robert Duvall. And also, I didn't know this at the time, but also the documentarian Frederick Wiseman, Dan. You're familiar with the work of both of these men.
Yeah, well, they were both at an advanced age. And, they were both in their mid-90s when they passed, which is an excellent innings, you have to say. And Frederick Wiseman was still producing his documentaries up until a couple of years ago, and in fact was still preparing to make documentaries up until he passed, and was also cameoing now, or at a late stage of his career, as an actor in other people's work. Robert Duvall, of course, we watched To Kill a Mockingbird the other night, which is from 1962, and that was his first screen performance, and he plays Boo Radley in To Kill a Mockingbird, and the character is mentioned a lot leading up to his appearance at the very near the end of the film, and it takes a special kind of actor to live up to what you've been built up to, if you know what I mean, to actually have like the very first shot where you see his face. It's so extraordinary. I mean, the film has already been absolutely brilliant up to that point, but then he turns up after we've heard about him for so long, and he just lights up the screen. It's a fantastic performance. There was almost nothing that he couldn't do. It was just a remarkable actor. Never gave the same performance twice. And was also a kind of irascible character, a little bit like Gene Hackman in that regard, and that he prepared exceptionally hard and didn't suffer fools, and didn't really have much time for people who didn't prepare to the same degree.
And one last thing, just before we get into your movies, Dan, we might have to zip through them a wee bit, but people will have heard you and I both talk about your excellent newsletter, Funerals and Snakes, which has lived on Substack for a long time, but which is migrating.
Yeah, well, I've moved from Substack. There's a bit of resistance now out there in the world to Substack because of some of the choices that that platform has made in terms of who it supports and who it promotes. And so I realized that actually, you know what, I didn't want my work to live on somebody else's platform that could be taken away at any moment. It could be a change of ownership could, basically destroy all those years of work. So I've brought everything back to my own website, Funerals and Snakes, and the newsletter then gets sent out from a different service. But if you go to Funerals and Snakes or Google that, you'll be able to sign up for those updates. And it's been good, actually. It's like breathing new life into it. It's like, oh, right, it's back home again.
Love that. All right, 9 minutes to 9 is the time, Dan. So let's jump into it. In cinemas, we've got some previews, as a matter of fact. Tell us about these.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention that that summer is ending when the film societies announce their programs, and Wellington and Auckland have their programs up. Wellington gets underway on Monday night at the Embassy Theatre with Picnic at Hanging Rock, the Aussie classic. But I wanted to just highlight some films that are in both the Auckland and Wellington programs. One is called Mississippi Masala, which is a romantic comedy from the 90s starring Denzel Washington, and it's made by Mira Nair, who is the mother of the current mayor of New York City.
Zora!
Just a little bit. A little bit of trivia there for you. And another film that I want to highlight, which we haven't had a chance to see on the big screen for a long time, it's the New Zealand classic The Quiet Earth, and that's playing at both film societies. Both film societies are in pretty rude health at the moment, I have to say. Wellington has so many members that they now have to have 2 screenings on a Monday night in order to fit everybody in, over 750 members. And I was talking to the artistic director of a new film festival that's playing in Auckland at the moment called Europa. It's an Australian festival that's come over to New Zealand. And he was talking about how strong the desire is amongst young people to watch classic films on the big screen. There's a lot of cinemas in New Zealand and Australia that are now programming Sunday night sort of classic sessions, and he described them as like the letterboxed generation, people who've been reading about films and are now really hanging out to watch them on the big screen. And film societies and cinemas that are playing those classic movies are really reaping the rewards of it.
I love that. I'm glad to hear it. Reject modernity, embrace tradition.
Well, my new slogan for the newsletter is that there are more good old films than there are good new films.
Great stuff. That is in cinemas, the Auckland and Wellington Film Societies, and also the Europa Film Festival, which has started at the Bridgeway in Auckland. Your paid streaming recommendation this week, Dan, it's on Netflix. It's called The Swedish Connection. Tell me about it.
This is something out of left field. I was hunting around. I know I should be better prepared than this, but this morning I didn't have anything for this particular slot, so I was hunting around to see what was new and what the streaming services were wanting to promote to me. And this was the most recent addition to Netflix. It's called The Swedish Connection, and it is based on the true story of a Swedish diplomat / foreign ministry official during World War II, who was kind of unappreciated and not taken seriously, basically, by either his colleagues or by anybody else. Sweden was famously neutral during World War II, and he and his office in the foreign ministry realise they hear the stories about what's happening to the Jews in the Holocaust and decide that they're going to try and save the ones in Norway and Denmark, who are closest to them, both of those countries under German occupation. But of course, he gets a lot of resistance because there's a sense that they might be breaking the neutrality, and the Swedes were terrified that the Nazis would just walk in, basically, because they had the ability to do that. But he uses his wits and he uses his bureaucratic nous to work out how to issue visas and issue temporary passports to these people. And his method for getting those many of thousands of those people temporary Swedish citizenship saved over 100,000 lives. And so it's of an ilk with, of course, the famous Spielberg film, which
Schindler's
is
List,
named Schindler's List. That's right, not Schindler's Lift. Schindler's List. But it's a very different tone. It's kind of a little bit comedic and a little bit wacky. It's not self-serious, and it's kind of satirical in terms of its view of Swedish bureaucracy and Swedish government. So there's you might find the tone a little bit light-hearted for something that's essentially a seriously heavy topic.
That's The Swedish Connection that is streaming on Netflix. And this looks terrific, Dan. Your free streaming recommendation for this week, it's streaming on the BBC. It is called 1 Week, 1 Title, Football in Greenland.
I knew you would be into this. I really wanted to talk to you about this. It was the most interesting thing I watched all summer, basically, and it's only half an hour long. It's a classic sort of BBC documentary. We've got a clip from it. This is the opening minute.
Greenland, the world's largest island. More than 2 million square kilometres of ice, rock, and breathtaking beauty. During August's endless summer days, the Greenlandic Football Championship is played from dawn to dusk. 1 pitch, 1 week. A relentless festival of matches played back to back until a champion is crowned.
You have to love football to do this.
Some players chase dreams that reach far beyond this field, while others play simply for the love of the game.
This is what it's meant to be. This is how it should be, the way they do it here.
Against the backdrop of Greenland's complex past and recent prominence in the international news agenda, the championship draws everyone together through their shared passion for football, creating one of the most unique away days in the world.
Gee, this sounds really cool. It's right up my alley, of course, Dan.
Yeah.
Tell me about
nothing. I knew nothing about Greenland before I watched this, and it was fascinating. And it's not just a football story. It's a story about a place that's just super interesting, and of course on the world agenda at the moment. There's a population of 57,000 people in Greenland, and they have 76 football clubs.
Wow.
That's 10% of the population, and the championship takes place over a week. There's 8 of those clubs make it And the big scandal or the big drama this in 2025 was one of the teams, because 4 of the teams are from the capital city, Nuuk, and one of the teams had a Brazilian ring-in from the Icelandic Professional League, and there was some consternation over that. And the 2 top teams have 2 brothers playing on opposite sides, so that they go up against each other in the final. So there's a great sporting story there, but it's also a great introduction to a place that we know nothing about and is fascinating, and everybody involved should have their hands off it, frankly, because it's doing perfectly well without the global superpowers fighting over it.
Football is really beloved among those Nordic countries, aren't they? They may not have the most. Well, they have many. Well, Sweden, for example, has a great his footballing history, but Iceland doesn't. But one of my favourite statistics ever, Dan, is that when Iceland made I think it was the quarterfinals of Euro 2016, 35,000 people from Iceland went over to France to watch the match, which equated to about 12% of the entire population of Iceland who flew over to France to watch the game.
All Black fans are just part-timers by comparison, aren't they?
Oh, I love it. Dan Slevin, thank you very much for all of that, and also for your superhero observations, which are always more than welcome. Perhaps we'll do a segment on superhero movies at some stage in the future, although we do it from time to time, don't we? And
I just want to point out, I hope that the link to the BBC documentary is on the website, so you can just click that and watch.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Hey, thank you very much, Dan, and we'll catch you at the same time next week.
Looking forward to it already.